Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I'm your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined here by my co-creator, Austin Rackless. Austin, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Sebastian?
I am good. I'm good.
So what was your last workout?
You know, I drove to this trail run place that I really love, and I just went for a good, hour-long trail run, which is a new thing for me. Kind of didn't see the point of it before. It just felt kind of like hiking fast to me, but I love it. I love that it's almost like a puzzle trying to figure out where to put your feet when you're hurtling through hiking trails. And I like how it takes me out of a metrics mindset. I'm not thinking about speed. I'm thinking about being in nature and just kind of getting out of my comfort zone. It was awesome.
That sounds really nice.
What was your last workout?
I was sort of on the polar opposite end of the spectrum of that. I was really crunched for time, but I knew I wanted to do a workout, and not only because you were going to ask me. And I was trying to think about what can I do, and guess what I ended up deciding on?
Was it Zumba?
No, if I ever do a Zumba class, that means I've been kidnapped and please send help. I did the 7-minute workout.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really top of mind because two people we've talked to recently have been big proponents of the 7-minute workout.
That's true. Alison Bechdel talked about, when it really carried her through a stressful time of life. And our guest today, Chris Duffy, had his own 7-minute workout phase, went on for years.
Yeah, he did. He was a real devotee.
So how'd it go? Tell me about your experience with the 7-minute workout.
I liked it. It hit what I needed it to hit yesterday. I would do it again in a similar situation or maybe while traveling because you really don't need any kind of special equipment to do it. For people who don't know, it's just 30 seconds each of a bunch of really basic moves like squats, wall sit, plank, push-ups. But at the end, I felt like I got some work in.
I think when they published it in the New York Times, they called it the scientific 7-minute workout. And that's a big draw, right? Is that if you only have, let's say 10 minutes realistically to work out, and you want a scientist to tell you, what can I do to kind of maximize my time and energy? Boom.
Yeah. I think for me, the downside is obviously it would be repetitive to do that every single day because it's the same exercises in the same order. But I will say, Chris, our guest, had a really fun hack about how to make it more interesting for himself, even within that repetitiveness.
It was so Chris in a way because he just found a way of making it fun and funny and also bringing community into it, bringing friends into it, which I love and is just so much his signature style.
Absolutely. He is a comedian. He is also the host of Ted's How to Be a Better Human podcast. And he recently wrote a book called Humor Me, which I read, and it's a great book. It's about how humor and comedy makes you more connected to other people, makes you more present in your life, makes you more creative. And I think he really sold that argument, and I think you can tell that he really lives by that philosophy.
I love thinking about these ineffable things that make us healthier, these things that aren't quantifiable. And he does such an amazing job talking about what humor does for our health and the importance of kind of just laughter in our lives and building community, building friendships. Plus, he's just hilarious himself.
Maybe we should get into it.
Let's get into it. Here is Chris Duffy. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So what it was, what you did, how it went.
So I have two options for you here. One is if you're talking about an intentional workout that the outside observer would understand as a workout, I have an answer for that. But I will also say that my most recent actual honest workout was this past morning at 3 a.m., lifting my toddler in and out of his crib multiple times as I tried to get him to go back to sleep. And I once read this study that was about how people who clean hotel rooms don't realize that they're getting a huge amount of exercise over the course of a day. And I kind of feel like parenting is like that too, where I'm you do a lot of deadlifts and a lot of squats and a lot of single arm curls. So that's my most recent unintentional workout.
As you were doing that, were you like stabilize my core, like work on
Oh,
form?
no. I was like, what's the best way to just shatter my back? How can I make sure that my lumbar is the least supported possible? Before I had kids, I was asking friends for advice, and one friend said, honestly, my only advice for you is you should do as much to strengthen your core right now as possible. And I laughed and thought that was like a joke. And now I'm like, that man gave me the single best piece of advice. I wish I'd taken him more seriously.
It's legit. My daughter is 5 and she's getting to this stage where she just constantly wants to do this thing where we're facing each other. She holds my hands.
Uh-huh.
And I lift her up kind of, and then she like treats my legs as if they're like a road, and she just walks up my body.
Yeah. Oh, I'm very familiar with vertical road.
Yeah, and then does like a flip at the top and then lands on both feet.
Yeah, there's a lot of like prone positions that you hold yourself in where you're like, hypothetically, I'm resting, but actually like one arm is elevated over my head as I reach my hand into the crib to hold your hand. Or another one is like, you just really want to like stand as tall as possible. So I'm going to like have you on top of my head and all of my neck muscles are trying to stabilize you.
Right. So training for that.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's my unintentional workout. My most recent intentional workout is not very recent, I have to be honest, because of the aforementioned children. Maybe a week and a half ago, I went and swam laps for half an hour at the local outdoor public pool, and that was great.
So you live somewhere where public pools are open this time of year.
I live in Los Angeles, and one of the unexpected, I mean, not unexpected for that it would be warm here, but for me, an unexpected benefit of living here that has become a part of my life is using the outdoor public pools. I was not a swimmer before I moved here. And then the fact that for $3, I can swim in this like beautiful pool outside under a blue sky with like palm trees. Yeah, that's one of my biggest perks of living here for sure.
The swimming pool is a place where I tend to lean into the community aspect of it, and I'll just meet kind of random people and have these great conversations. Have you had that experience out in LA?
Absolutely. Yeah. I grew up in New York City, and there's so many things that are really wonderful about New York. But I think one thing that it really is not good at is casual relationships with strangers. There's not that many times where you like walk by the same person and you're like, how's it going, Tom? And you don't know anything else about Tom other than that's his first name. And for me, the public pool is like absolutely that, where you're like, all right, Gloria, back at it. Aqua size, you got it. You know, and it's just a very fun place to have this community. And I have made a few friends there that are like, have become genuine friends. Most notably, I made friends with a woman, Maureen, who is a world champion swimmer. She's like literally in the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and she's 104 years old and still swims.
Wow.
And whenever she competes, she wins and sets a record because she's the only person in her age class. They call her Mighty Mo. And I got to know her several years ago, and now have like gotten to go over to her house and visit with her. And she's kind of become like an adopted family member for me.
Wow. Is that an aspiration for you? I mean, do you think about longevity much?
Oh, no. It's so funny to say no when people are like, is that a goal for you to live a long life? And I'm like, well, a happy life. But the people who are like, I'm trying to live to 120 feel like scary to me. I'm like, it's okay. I'll pack a lot of good years in. Kind of feels like I'm going to steal young people's blood and like have my brain uploaded to a robot or something. I feel like things are good and meaningful because they are finite. And so I'm certainly not trying to say I don't want to have a long life, but let me put it this way. One time I interviewed for a show that I was doing where I was interviewing scientists. I interviewed a longevity researcher, and she said like the number one thing she would recommend people to do if they want to live past the normal lifespan is to never eat sugar. And I was like, I think I'll live a normal lifespan. I think I'll have cake. A cookie. Yeah. A warm brownie? I'll pass on the extra 10, I think. That's okay.
Wow. I do think about that sometimes, the kind of fixation on blue zone diets or whatnot.
Oh, well, blue zone is like one of my favorite scientific controversies in the world, too. Do you know this whole story right now?
No.
In the demographic sciences, there's a war between the people who believe in the blue zones and the people who don't, because one guy did a study where he found that all of the places that are supposedly blue zones also have the worst systems for keeping track of birth and death records. So he was like, these people aren't actually 112. They're like 87 and can't find their birth certificate.
Oh, wow.
Other demographers were like, that is a lie. It's wrong. It is actually a special thing. So there's currently, as far as I'm told, a war in the demographic sciences. I know this because I wrote a thing that like mentioned that as a joke, and then the fact checker was like, I don't know if you want to wade into this war. It's a sticky topic. You might get a lot of PhDs of population studies yelling at you.
I'm going to stop eating purple potatoes now. I just like, I've had it.
Oh, no. Don't get the yam farmers angry at me. That's the worst.
Yeah.
You don't want a sack of purple potatoes thrown through the window at night.
Just to kind of go back to this idea of, you're not really saying that you're here for a fun time, not a long time, because it's not that extreme. But like,
Also, my time is not that fun. I'm like here for like a mild time, you know?
you're here for a mild time.
Yeah, not a wild time.
But what does that look like for you? That idea of you want to live good, rich years. So what are the touch points for that for you?
That's such a good question. And Sebastian, I really just want to say on like a meta level, I just appreciate you as an interviewer in that I can say like the most utter nonsense and you're like, let's bring that back to something that's like meaningful and profound. So I really appreciate that as a skill. And I will say, all kidding aside, something that I do think about a lot is health as kind of like the invisibility of health. And what I mean by that is like not having to think about my body. Not having to think about like pain or sickness or disability, and how lucky I am to have periods of time where that's the case. You know, anytime I get a sinus pressure thing where like my nose is stuffed up, I'm so hyper aware of like, oh, there's these things in my head that can swell. And then when they're not there, I don't think like, thank God my sinuses are clear. My goal would be to how can I have as much time as possible where I am not thinking about this, where it's just living my life and being present with my friends and family and kids and not having to think like, oh, I probably can't lift you up those stairs or I can't like play with you.
Yeah. Ever since having kids, I think something that's really important to me is just trying to, I mean, for each day, be as present as possible and which means having as much energy as possible. And I think my current exercise routine tries to bend in that direction. Like, I'm not trying to like show off how many muscles I have or how big they are or anything like that. I just want it all to kind of root into the optimal situation of like having good sleep, resting well, and feeling energetic in as many moments as possible.
You just described, like, for me at this point in my life, like almost like a pornographic fantasy of like getting good sleep, feeling rested, feeling like myself. I'm like, oh, tell me more about it, Sebastian. What would it look like? Oh, please.
I've written it all down in a book. It costs $50.
You have it. Please.
Our
send
first
me the book.
10 callers. Yeah.
I don't know if this is true for you, because you're obviously like a little further along in the parenting journey than I am. My kids are 2 and 4 months. But I find that one of the biggest things for me with sleep is I am so much more creative and I'm so much better at being present and really like listening when I have had a good night of sleep. Like, I can remember a thing you said from 20 minutes ago and bring that back around if I'm fully there with sleep. And if not, I might at the end of a conversation be like, I'm so sorry, but like, can you remind me what your name is? And that for me is like really one of the biggest frustrations of not having that full mental capacity.
Yeah, no amount of coffee is going to undo that bad night of sleep.
And I don't even drink coffee. Maybe I should start drinking. Honestly, maybe the solution is now is the time. I'd better break the glass and start drinking the coffee.
One thing that does help for me is, and I feel like this is a little too on brand, but like is actual like intense cardio. If I've had a bad night's sleep and I go and I just like go for a good run or I'm on the exercise bike for a while, it does have that kind of amazing effect of reversing it in some ways, at least for a little while.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you about that. One is, I want to hear more about what you perceive your brand to be. What is on brand for you? I want to hear that. And then 2 is, okay, so that makes sense to me. The like, I'm tired and so I go do intense cardio. But I always wonder, how do you make yourself do that? Because that to me is the challenge. When you asked me about my most recent workout, I went and I swam and I felt so much better after I swam. And I felt like there were more hours in the day because I had more energy. But it was so hard to convince myself that I had time and capacity to actually go do that. And every time it is like that for me. So are you someone where you just don't fight that mental battle every time? Or if you do, how do you convince yourself when you're tired that you're going to go and do like high intensity cardio?
I think I kind of lie to myself sometimes, and I'll be like, just to take the second question first, I'll be like, Sebastian, we're going to go to the gym, but just for a little while and just to do, this exercise And then I think inevitably, 9 times out of 10, it will grow into a larger exercise or a longer time at the gym, really. The other thing that I'll do is queue up, because I'm very like music driven, and I'll queue up a playlist of songs that I want to listen to, but not let myself listen to them until I'm actually exercising.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, see, this is why I feel like those two questions are related. Is because like, what is the like perception you have of yourself, and how do you like trick yourself or motivate yourself to do things?
Yeah,
are very interesting to me because I don't think I'm particularly good at that, and I think maybe it's tied to my idea of who I am, which maybe I need to shift a little bit. I don't know. So wait, tell me about like when you imagine yourself. It seems like sports and workout and health are central, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. So how would you describe your idea of yourself?
My main job, my day job, is a college professor, and I teach medieval literature, and I also teach kind of like creative writing and music and literature and things like that. But in my day job, I'm not really talking about exercise much or anything like that with my students. In terms of what is the what is the brand of the show, it's that people who are more creatively focused or maybe intellectually focused in their day-to-day lives often have this kind of thing that fuels them, that is a physical exercise or some kind of physical outlet, that makes the rest of their lives, the kind of like tip of the iceberg that's above the water, possible, right? Or keeps it from melting, or however that metaphor works.
That's so cool. I love that.
We got into climate change all of a sudden. Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
Have you heard about the scientific 7-minute workout?
Oh yeah, I did that for like 4 years without missing a day, and then
Really?
I just recently fell off my streak, and it was a real tragedy. I'm trying to get back on, but I was doing the 7 minutes a day for truly, I think 4.5 years.
Wow. So you're a believer. I mean, clearly it.
Well, I'm a believer in
works.
you tell me it's 7 minutes. That's something I could do.
Right.
And I had this little like app that was called 7, and it just like told you like you've been doing it for 3 days in a row. You have the streak, and I kind of liked the streak. But then eventually the streak part wore out for me. And then this is how my brain works, is because I love comedy and I love humor. If you follow your friends on this app, and very few people use this app that I knew, there was a period of time where they would get a push notification on their phone that said like, Chris just completed the, arms workout. But you could change the names of the workouts to whatever you wanted. So I would start sending my friends messages through the app. So it'd be like, Chris just completed the help, I'm trapped inside your phone workout. And I was just like, the idea that I was both working out and getting to like send a joke out to my friends that they couldn't reject really made me laugh. And so then I just started doing that for like a year. And then after my friends stopped using it because they didn't want to get these push notifications from me and deleted off their phone, I just kept going. And I only stopped because I missed 2 days when our son was being born. And then I was like, oh, I guess I don't care anymore.
You weren't about to do that in the hospital room.
I literally thought about it. That's how broken my brain was about this streak.
I could do a side plank in here. Why not?
That wouldn't have been that unreasonable for me to say, hold on, I'm just going to do a couple step ups. Do you mind if I use this chair?
Yeah,
although I was already almost like, I already did almost pass out. And I was like, of all the experiences in your life, you have to not make this one about you. So
right.
You cannot pass out. And I think a 7-minute workout would push you into passing out.
I'm so curious. So you host this podcast about literally how to be a better human.
Yes. Not that I know, though. The podcast is not me like being like, lesson number 1 from Chris, because I have no clue.
You're asking other people. Yeah.
Yes. I'm always like, please, how? How do you be a better human? I don't know.
What are some of the things that you've learned from some of your guests when it comes to how to be a better person, kind of like fitness edition or health edition?
Okay, I'll tell you some of the ones that have come up the most frequently in terms of like fitness is what you just said, right? Like using a high intensity workout or like doing like actual physical activity to ground yourself and to give yourself energy. That has come up a number of times from people who are really impressive and who you wouldn't necessarily expect. The one that has come up the most is people being like, I you need to get your phone out of your bedroom. I have heard that many times. I still sleep with my phone right next to my head. I have not implemented this. I've tried to, but it's hard.
I'm so interested about the connection between comedy and health. I mean, partly because I'm kind of fascinated, and I don't really have a good term for this, but I'm kind of fascinated by aspects of health that are hard to itemize or measure, but it's kind of like spending time with your kids and like the amount of kind of like happiness and well-being that kind of might dawn on you in a moment. And I feel like comedy falls into that category for me. How do you think about that?
The comedy writer Simon Rich, who wrote for Saturday Night Live, is like a really incredible comedy writer who's written a bunch of iconic comedy things. He once told me that writing comedy is exactly the same as writing horror, that you take a situation, you elevate it to the point of maximum tension and stress. And the difference is, in comedy, you then puncture that stress with a laugh, with a punchline, and it gets completely relieved. And in horror, you just keep going until people literally die. And I think that that's like the, professional comedy movie, comedy TV, comedy sketch version of comedy. But I think that humor functions in a really similar way in our lives, which is we have these periods of intense stress. We have things that are really emotional and charged. And being able to laugh can just pop the balloon and let the air out of that. And it's not really that it like makes the situation go away, but it can change how you feel about the situation and your ability to handle it. And I think that's a huge piece of comedy and health. And then the other piece of comedy and humor and health is that one of the magical parts about laughter is that laughter is really a social thing, right? It's a connection between two people or more than two people. And it's you're in this moment together, right? If someone's like half paying attention and you're telling a funny story, they're not going to laugh, right? They laugh when they are locked in on that moment with you. You catch them and then you are there. And there's so much research. I mean, it's almost a cliche in science at this point of how important social health is for your physical health and your mental health, how important it is to be connected to other people. The scientist Robin Dunbar, who wrote like the book on friendship, that's literally called Friendship, has a incredible very British phrase that's like, it's no exaggeration to say that like slob about as much as you fancy, but the single best thing you can do for your health is to have friends. And I think humor and laughter are one of the best ways to make friends and to keep friends and to be connected with other people. So I think those are two of the really big ones. And then there are a lot of other side benefits as well that I'm happy to get into, but I've already given you my little comedy monologues.
I mean, I'm curious. What are some of the side benefits that you have in mind?
Well, so I just read this book, Humor Me. It's all about how laughing more can make you present, creative, connected, and happy. In doing the research for it, I thought that actually some of the most interesting things that I came across were the ways in which laughter and humor can make you healthier. Because here's the thing. People always say laughter is the best medicine. And we all know that that is obviously not true. Right? Like laughter is not the best medicine. Penicillin is way better, right? Like a surgery for appendicitis is way better than laughing about it. If you go to the emergency room and the doctor's like, knock, knock, you'd be like, let's go to another emergency room.
Right.
So with that in mind, I was kind of like, well, what is the role of laughter in health, if there is one? And I think the answer that I got to in talking to an emergency room doctor and talking to a psychologist who ran UCSF's anxiety clinic is that it can change the way that you frame the experience. And that actually in medicine, changing the way that you are experiencing something is a really significant and positive outcome, right? Like a lot of medicine is actually about trying to change your experience, whether that is like your experience of pain or your experience of panic or your experience of loneliness or disconnection. A lot of those things have really clear medical consequences. And so laughter and humor are ways that you can change those. And so just to give you a specific example, I talked to a woman who helps run a nursing home in Hong Kong. And they did a study where they did like a randomized control study. And they had one group that kind of just got like the regular treatment of people in these nursing homes, and then a group that was assigned to like a humor group. And they each week would meet and they were told to keep a folder where they found anything that they thought was funny. They would put in the folder and then they'd share it with other members of the group, and they would do exercises to try and make each other laugh. And they kind of just built up these little like personalized things that make me laugh folders in addition to these meetings where they were sharing it. And they found that this had a really significant impact on people's experience of loneliness and disconnection. Okay, that makes sense. But also their experience of pain and their need to use painkillers over the course of the week. And when I talked to the doctors about this, they were like, even if you can get a person to take 1 or 2 fewer doses of a medicine, that is a really valuable intervention, especially when, in like the case of finding things that make you laugh and keeping track of them, there's very little side effect. So that is something that I've been thinking about a lot, because it's also something that like I can do, you could do, is just how do you keep track of the things that make you laugh?
It makes me think about, too, how nice it is to find people who have similar senses of humor to you, or like who speak a common language with you when it comes to humor. Do you know that movie, The Lobster?
Oh, yes. The one where they turn into the lobster, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry, did I ruin the movie? Spoiler alert. It's an old movie.
I remember going to see that with my wife. It was just some of the jokes. It was just us laughing in like a theater full of like, I don't know how many people, 200 people. And I feel like the people next to us were like inching away a little bit. But sharing that was kind of like a reaffirmation of our marriage.
Totally. This is one of the best parts of laughing with a friend or a partner or anyone, is like, you get it. We're on the same page. I mean, I think a place where people have really experienced this, I think almost everyone has, is you're in a class in like middle school or high school, and you and your friend are trying so hard not to like erupt into laughter because of something that only the two of you find funny, that the teacher said or that another kid did. And that is just like, that's the point of life. I mean, that is like a peak human experience, is being there and being like, oh, this is so funny and you get it and we're both laughing at it. Yeah, to me, I'm like, that's the point of being alive. You want to live to 120 but don't have that? Forget about it. Why live to 120 if you don't have that? I'll take 120 experiences like that over 120 years.
And some cookies.
Exactly. And some cookies, of course.
We have a lightning round for you.
Oh, I love a lightning round.
Cardio or strength training?
Cardio, I'm going to say.
Protein shake or protein bar?
Oh, shake for sure, because they can taste like a milkshake. And the bars are always just so unbelievably dry. Or like weirdly oily. Like you open it up and you're like, why is this slick and wet? Oh no, it's like a seal or something.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
You know, I like a cottage cheese occasionally, but it's disgusting, and you don't want anyone to see you eating cottage cheese. So I'm going to say Greek yogurt in public, and Greek yogurt in the streets, and cottage cheese in the sheets.
Secretly cottage cheese.
Secretly cottage cheese. That's actually my spin-off podcast for this. Instead of Secretly Sporty, it's Secretly Cottage Cheese.
To eat or not to eat right before a workout?
There's never a situation in my life where I don't answer to eat. So I'm going to say to eat. I'm saying you won't regret it during the workout, but I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. Seize the day.
Yeah. What if you died on the way to the workout?
Right.
You would be so upset that you hadn't eaten the bagel. Oh, you'd be furious. Like, I was going to eat the bagel and I didn't make it.
At the moment of death, he'd be like,
everything, toasted everything, please. His final words were toasted everything.
Sauna or cold plunge?
I'm going to say both. I want to combine them. I want to go from the sauna to the cold plunge back to the sauna. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'll do cold plunge.
Would you rather work out first or create first?
Oh, create first. But I probably create better if I work out first. You like how I took your lightning round and have given you more than I made it the longest lightning round in the history of lightning. Chris, it's very simple. I say this or this and you say one word and I go, how about both? Hey, here's a little side note.
Right. If you do listen to music when you're, say, running, walking, working out in any way, would you prefer high octane loud music or kind of more mellow meditative music?
Oh, I think high octane music, but every other part of my life I like the more mellow, like sad girl crying music.
Like what?
Like I love a Taylor Swift. I love a Phoebe Bridgers. I love a Waxahachie. I love a Joan Baez. I'm like,
amazing.
Let's cry. And then at the end of the year, Spotify's like, I'm very confused about your age. I'm very confused about your identity. I don't know who you are.
Say you're eating peanut butter or nut butter of your choice. Is it going on a banana or a date?
I mean, the comedy part of me goes, it depends on the date. But I'm going to say banana.
Well, we ended on the most profound question.
That's
Thank
right.
you very much.
Hey, everything bagel, please, now!
There you
before
go.
It's too late. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. On our next episode, we talk to best-selling author Soman Chainani about tennis, lifting, and the year he spent, quote, deadlift drunk. Plus, the best protein bar money can buy. See you then. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdale and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdale, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Radinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy. Cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division, Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is Javelina by Christopher Dothett. Special thanks to Nicole Kenley, Anna Langdale, and Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.